Hello again, digital makers. Glitching up.
Hello, and welcome back to Digital Making at Home. Mr. C and I are so excited to be here. We are having some internet issues, but we're going to roll with the punches and see what we can do today. This week's episode is going to be awesome. If you haven't already, say hi in the chat and let us know where in the world you are. I'm Christina, and I'm coming to you live from Nebraska in the USA. And we've got Mr. C here. How are you doing, Mr. C? How's the internet?
Hey everybody, sorry I'm a little laggy today. I'm not sure what's going on with my internet. It's a little bit behind. But we've got two amazing things happening today. First, we're speaking with the amazing and talented Becky Stern, inventor, maker, teacher, and writer. And second, we're going to be playing around with the Raspberry Pi 4 and the GPIO pins, trying to make an awesome gift in honor of the one that Becky gave to us, Stephanie.
Yes, how cool. Another friend of Digital Making at Home is Stephanie. We had her on a little while back. You two got to chat, and she talked about how she creates her videos and records all her makes. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm excited.
I'm super duper excited. We've got loads of people in the chat early today, and we've got lots of people like Larry Beatty, Anna on YouTube, and Colin all getting involved already. It's really great. We're welcomed and excited to have you in the conversation.
Yes, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome to Digital Making at Home. This is all about getting young people to become the power users of the 21st century by learning to create with tech. Every Wednesday, we chat with awesome inventors and makers from all over the world. We create cool things together and see amazing digital making from people just like you. So it's amazing to have you all here with us each week. We broadcast live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We can see your comments in the chat. I've got them right here. And we want to hear from you. So feel free to join and ask questions, make suggestions, or just let us know if you have an opinion in the chat. Make sure to like and subscribe. Head to rpf.io/sub to get our content as it comes out. Please subscribe. When you subscribe, you join an awesome community of digital makers. This channel has videos about our programs, tutorials to learn cool projects, and past streams from Digital Making at Home. Subscribe and join this incredible community. So shout out to Kevin and Lori, some of our most recent subscribers. Thanks for being the newest members of the Raspberry Pi community. So we are going to bring Becky on. I'm really excited. Becky, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi, it's so great to have you. Looks like we lost Mr. C, but that's okay. It can be just us ladies for today.
No worries.
We'll be fine.
We'll be back.
So, let's jump right in. How did you get started as a maker?
Oh, well, when I was a little kid. I have parents who are makers, so that's like it's not an easy translatable answer, but I was encouraged to make as a kid. I liked cooking. My parents were big like home improvement buffs, so like always retiling a bathroom here, doing a thing here. So as a little kid, I learned how to sew and knit and cook and do a little bit of woodworking. And then I went to art school. So I was a pretty creative youngster in general. I knew I wanted to go into a creative field, but I didn't touch electronics until I was in art school. And that's where I learned electronics. And that's maybe where I get my offbeat bent on electronics projects, because I didn't go to engineering school. But a combination of growing up with crafty parents and school interests. Yeah.
Oh, that's really neat to hear that. And I also loved how you just acknowledged making as like cooking, as like fixing things in the house. Like making is just when you create something brand new, right? Can you remember what inspired you, or like what was your first big project?
So I really liked Beanie Babies. This is going to date me a little bit, but we might be around the same age. Yeah. So I collected Beanie Babies like many people my age at a certain young age. And I was also learning how to sew at the same time. I started cloning my Beanie Baby. So I would like hold pieces of fabric up to the Beanie Baby and like trace where the seam was and then cut it out and then sew it back together. So I didn't have a pattern, but I would sort of make my own pattern from tracing the pieces. And then I got a sewing machine for my 13th birthday, but this was when I was maybe like 8, 9.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Beanie Babies.
I don't have any of my actual Beanie Babies anymore, but I do have the clones that I made because they were my first sewing projects.
Okay, I would love to see those at some point. Please share them.
I know. I got to get them. They're in the storage unit right now.
Okay. Understandable. I love, getting a sewing machine. I remember my mom had one. I didn't get one until like the last couple of years. It's right there. Okay, does that work? Yes, it's right there. Oh, that's really neat. Oh, so let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. It showcases everything from awesome electronics, like you mentioned, and microcontroller projects to textile creations and hair braiding. For you, what does it mean to be a maker? I know we touched on that. And like, how do you define making?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's anything creative that brings you joy. And I particularly like showing other people my process so that they could get inspired to try something themselves. It's a lot about confidence, in my opinion. So like if you see something and you see yourself in it, or you see yourself able to try something and the opportunity is sparked in your mind, you're inspired, like that can help you gain confidence in like learning a new skill, because you're like, oh, gee, I have this great idea, I should follow through on it. So yeah, I think it's a lot about having the confidence to act on your ideas.
I love that. I think, yeah, especially like the piece you mentioned about what brings you joy. And that's going to be different for every single person. And it also changes based on like what's going on. Like for me right now, joy is painting. Like I'm just having so much joy painting and like figuring out how to draw like Disney characters. Like that is like what's bringing me joy. And I love that you mentioned like sharing the process. Your latest project was a collaboration, a gift exchange with Stephanie, who's also been a guest on Digital Making at Home. And I loved watching it because you're like, you do show the process, and it makes it really something that I can connect with and both feel like, oh, this is something I could do. Can you tell us a little bit about what you made for her and what she sent to you in return?
Yeah, sure. We found out last year ago, 365-ish days ago, that we have a very similar birthday, and said like, oh, next year we're going to do something about that. And so it's a bit of a long time in the making, but we just wanted to make each other fun and thoughtful gifts that had to do with electronics, basically, because that's what both of us are into.
Yeah.
And so I decided to make her an embroidery. I used my embroidery machine. We have my, there we go. Thanks. We have my
So
video up. So I made this design. I made this embroidery design in Adobe Illustrator, and it's got Stephanie really likes chocolate cake. So it's got like all her interests, right? Chocolate cake. She lives in Texas. We got the little Texas motif. These are her two cats. This is her logo. So I was inspired by all of her interests to make this little embroidery thing. And then I used my computerized embroidery machine and a cool open source library for processing to sort of like execute on that embroidery in the real world. So here's what the embroidery pattern looks like when I make it in processing. And then the processing sketch makes the embroidery file. Here I can play a little bit of that. So that's what it looks like.
So cool.
When the embroidery machine is sort of printing. It's kind of like a CNC or a 3D printer almost. Very different from hand embroidery. But I also knew that this processing library had come out in 2020. And before that, I hadn't had a lot of opportunity I haven't had a lot of drive to play with my embroidery machine, because the software is proprietary and the onboard stitches were a little boring. And I knew I wanted to, create my own artwork. So the processing library is really cool. You should check it out. All the links are in the tutorial for the project. But this is the main sort of part of the project that I wanted to make. I'm going to make this embroidery for Stephanie. And if I have time, I'll add a bunch of other stuff, because I didn't know how this was going to go. I was a little worried that the embroidery, I had trouble with the tension in the past and like getting a nice clean result. So I was trying to set myself up for success, knowing that we had this agreed upon deadline. That's the other thing. We couldn't push it, right? So the embroidery came out great, kind of to my surprise that it went so well at first. So I decided to push onward. I made this 3D printed frame. That's from a design by a woman called Geeky Faye.
Geeky Faye.
Yeah, she published a cool open source, not open source, but modular design for a picture frame. You buy one picture frame and print it out a million bajillion times. And so I that seemed like a natural thing to do, also because I knew I wanted to drill holes in the frame. And if I made it out of plastic with 3D printing, then I knew I would be able to drill holes and also melt it a little bit for the wire to come out the back to plug it in. So the plastic, the PLA material is going to be really comfortable with that versus like trying to drill a hole in a really small like particle board frame. So then the electronics part, right? The part that you folks are going to work on later today. I added some candle flicker LEDs. These are LEDs that have a little chip in them by themselves that causes them to flash like a candle. That's what when you go to a restaurant and do you miss restaurants? They have these like the candles that aren't actually candles, they're LED candles.
My mom sends me those all the time because she doesn't want me to light candles because she's worried I'll burn down the house.
Yeah, they're a huge fire hazard. And also like I like candles, but I'm allergic to smells. So like I might as well just have LED candles because I just like the ambiance. But anyway, they come in these LEDs so that you don't have to like do any programming to get that effect. You just wire them to power. So I use them because I thought, well, I might not have time to do anything but add LEDs to this project. And it turned out I did have more time, and I added this touch board. This from Bear Conductive. It's like an Arduino compatible with an SD card and touch points on board, so it can play back audio files on the SD
Oh gosh,
card.
you added audio too.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, this is like a layer cake, like the chocolate cake on the front. It's like you could stop anywhere. You could stop at the embroidery. You could stop at the LEDs. You could just do sound if you wanted to. But I had this thing floating around, and it just seemed like a nice opportunity to use it. So I extended the touch pads to the outside of the frame. I put some like funny songs on there, some versions of Happy Birthday, that kind of thing. And so there's these bolts. And then when you touch the bolts on the outside of the frame, it'll trigger the sound. The last feature that I added that was like, okay, this last feature I had an idea for was it plays an extra sound on her birthday. And that was like the thing that I was programming it like while I had the shipping box ready. And I was like, okay, I just need like 5 more minutes to finish the code. And I also had to have her plug it in and make sure that the date was right when she got it. But I use a real-time clock module for that. So it keeps track of the day and time with its own little tiny battery, very low power. Wow. And then on her actual birthday, it like plays a random song on the hour, every hour during like daylight hours.
That's amazing. So what is your birthday? What date is your birthday? So folks
Hers
know.
is the 28th and mine's the 29th of January.
Cool. Mine's the 14th.
Oh, Aquarius Club.
I'm actually a Capricorn.
I see. It's this. Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's the end, right at the end of your day.
Right at the end.
My mom's
right
a Capricorn too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And this is a Stephanie's
right. So Stephanie sent me this gift. We had this conversation about disaster movies. I really like disaster movies. I know they're terrible, but they're really entertaining to me.
I do too. I don't like horror movies, but I like disaster movies.
Yeah, it's something about the like schadenfreude of watching like civilization crumble, and also like I like emergency preparedness, so it makes me like justifies all my fears for like hoarding soup or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I love right now. Yeah,
she knows that I love disaster movies, and so she made me this like disaster terrarium. It's like an earthquake in a jar. And what it does is she did some actual math with this vibrating motor to calculate like the maximum Richter scale rating that this structure could have.
Oh, wow.
It's like structure of the springs on the sides so that it vibrates the most possible. And it has a horse in it who's supposed to be representative of this horse that I rode when I was a kid.
Oh,
so it's so cute and fun.
You have it behind you right now?
I have it behind me. So I can, if you want to make me full screen, I can turn it on live.
Okay.
It's so smart and clever. All of the electronics are kind of hidden in this. Let me get you with the reflections. In this globe underneath the moss.
Yeah.
But it's like a coin. There's like a quarter on there and a vibrating motor, a regular motor turned into sort of a vibrating motor with the coin as an offset weight that's causing it to vibrate, and the springs are attached to the glass.
Oh
I think any less shaking and it just wouldn't be as hilarious.
No, it's perfect. And as someone lived in California for a number of years, it definitely speaks to me. And just the love of horror movies, also the earthquake and the horse.
It's got all, just like, we didn't plan it this way, but like both of our gifts have like everything we love. It's turned out very wholesome and cute.
And yours horses and earthquake. Oh, yes. All right, I think that Mr. C might be able to come back in. Let's see. Mr. C, are you there? Are you able to join us? Oh, it's a dark screen. So maybe not. Oh no, you're still lagging. You look like you're in the shake machine.
Oh, it's the tubes under the ocean today.
It's okay. It's okay. We missed you, Mr. C. We missed you. So I know you mentioned that was an Arduino project. I am curious. Have you done any projects like with the Raspberry Pi computer?
Yeah. This one that I brought to show you is a camera. It's a vintage Brownie camera, so a former film camera that was no longer working. Don't worry, I didn't destroy a working camera for this project. Okay. But it was like an out of commission, decrepit kind of vintage camera I had kicking around in my collection, and I thought it would make a perfect enclosure for a Raspberry Pi project. I thought maybe I could put the battery inside, and then later I decided I wanted a bigger battery. So that's what this thing on the bottom is a big old USB battery pack, which is no stranger to any portable Raspberry Pi project. But it's got a Model A inside and a Raspberry Pi camera in the front and a couple of LEDs on the side. And it's running a little script that when I push the button, it takes 3 photos, stitches them into a GIF, and uploads it to Tumblr. So it's a little bit of a Wi-Fi project. I brought it to one of the last maker fairs. That was really fun. going around and just taking pictures. The viewfinder is all like cloudy and hard to see through. So it's kind of like a little bit mysterious. Where
I love that.
It's posting something to the internet without you getting to review it, which is kind of scary. But if you're at Maker Faire, like that's
exciting, right?
I think that's
of, like digital cameras, right? And like what it was like before we had phones, like how you would take a photo and like, yeah, you could use the viewfinder, but you still wouldn't know how it turned out.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is a fun project. It's based off of the Instructables Raspberry Pi class, which has been outdated a little bit now in terms of like, versions of Python and what have you, but it's still a solid project option. I think that could be used for like a bunch of different, you don't have to make it like a portable boxy vintage camera. You can have it be like a photo booth at your wedding, something like that.
Right. Yeah. And I've seen that. And I love what you mentioned, like, it wasn't just a camera. You're like, okay, I'm going to take 3 photos. We're going to make this a GIF and then we're going to post it. So it seems like your projects are always such an adventure, which I really love. You're always like, okay, what's next? What else?
A lot of steps. I have trouble. Sometimes I have trouble simplifying. It's true.
But your mind and like how your brain works.
Yeah, I definitely like, it's like, and then this, and then that's definitely how my ideas come in. And
why stop here? Why stop here?
Right. Why stop? So what's nice about this was that I could like hand out a little card that said like, here, go find your photo. Right. So it was fun for like a live event. And would likewise, I've seen the same ish code being used for photo booth before, where you step up to the plate and like press the button, and then it shows you where to go get your gifts. And it's easy to modify to like upload to someplace else. You could upload it to Giphy or Tumblr. I know is also kind of dated these days, isn't it? My internet platforms. I need to make it take a video and upload it to TikTok.
Right. I was just yeah. That's right. That would be pretty. That'd be pretty cool.
Somebody's just got to make the right API.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. So you've been sharing your projects like this one, like other projects you made, and showing people how to make stuff on the internet for a long time, right? And you've now have nearly 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. Can you talk about how sharing is such an important process of making?
Well, part of it's the attention. I'm not going to lie, right? Like, doesn't everybody love to get a gold star for doing good work? So part of me is like, when I do a project, I want to share it because I want accolades and I want people to see what I'm capable of. But also I feel I'm a teacher. So I feel like this duty to pass along the knowledge that I have. And I know that I have a talent and an inclination for explaining things well. So it would feel like I'm doing my audience a disservice if I didn't try to explain everything I'm interested in while I'm interested in it. So it's just a natural part of my creative process is to share. I think that's common for artists to want the final place for your art to go, right? Like to celebrate it. But also I'm really into bringing people, inspiring people. That inspires me. So I want to create content that people can see themselves in. It could get excited to try something new and then gain confidence and skills. I get a lot of satisfaction from that. I see it when I teach like a full class at SVA in a product design grad program. But so I see it like over the course of a whole semester with like a specific group of students every year. And that kind of like reminds me that that's a microcosm of like everybody on the internet who's following my tutorials are in the same position as those students who are learning stuff for the first time. And like to unlock all of those skills for those people who want to go into cool fields is really quite a life achievement that I like to keep on top of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really neat. And I really appreciate you admitting, and I admire it. Like you just knowing, like I like to have the accolades. I like to share this stuff, and I like folks to be excited about it. And like knowing that you're good at teaching, like that's such an important skill. And I think it's so important for us to hear folks like celebrate what they're good at. And as a woman, like to celebrate, like, hey, I'm good at this. I want to share this, and I want folks to be able to access it. And that's really neat. And I appreciate you saying that, especially for me to hear, and like for the young people watching us to hear that, because it's so important. What tips or advice do you have for someone who wants to share what they're making online? Oh, I see.
Yeah, we've been joined by Olive. She woke up. She's up from her nap. She probably will soon not want to be here now that she realizes she's on a meeting and she's not making she's not getting paid. Sorry, what was your question?
How do you, besides having an amazing pet in the background, what advice would you give someone who wants to share what they're making?
Oh, sharing. Yes, sharing. You should try to make an effort to get good at documenting your projects. It's not a thing that comes naturally to everybody, but it is a skill that everyone can learn to some degree. I have a couple tutorials on my YouTube and on my Instructables about documenting your projects, like 5 tips for documenting, and
oh, that's great.
maybe some other ones. I wrote a Make Magazine article way back when, but the basic tips are like your sound is more important than your camera. Use whatever camera you have until it's not good enough for you, and just like release early and often, right? Like you just have to get onto a schedule. If you don't, like people don't know about stuff you don't put out in the world. So you might be thinking, oh, I'm sitting on all these great ideas. I don't know if you ever remember Zay Frank's The Show. It was like an early internet show before YouTube. He had this episode about getting addicted to your good ideas and how you can just sit there on your pile of good ideas, never having to have failed at all. But if you and a lot of people don't like to admit that if you're going to make something that's in your head, the first couple times you make it, it's not going to be good. And so you have to do it a couple times. And like, that's kind of like knowing that from the outset is a little frustrating sometimes, but knowing that, like, I don't know, I think getting the ability to iterate on that is really important, and not letting your ideas sit around for too long. I do have like a big list of ideas, but I'm always trying to work on one of them at a time, or more of them at a time.
I've read a book called Big Magic, and there's a part where it talks about creativity and ideas, and it says like the author Elizabeth Gilbert, she says that if you have an idea, like your ideas want to come to life. And if you don't, if you just sit on them, like they're going to find someone else. So when, like you said, like even if you have all these ideas and then you see someone else like, oh, that was my idea. Well, the idea left. Like it
wasn't yours if you didn't, like, where's your prior art, right? So also if people are worried about people stealing their ideas, it's like, no, actually, if you publish your idea first and someone tries to steal it later, that's actually better that you have documentation of it. Yeah. But I would say, like, use the equipment that you have and just publish something every month, every like 3 projects in a year. Like set a goal for the frequency and try to stick to it, because that's going to force your hand on some of your skills. Maybe you're not as confident in your photography skills. You need some feedback on that. Well, releasing a couple projects like will allow you to get better and practice at that, because you're not going to be perfect at everything right away. So I like to release projects when they're like, I don't know, 90% done, because I also like that last 10% is the hardest part, but also people can see themselves in a project when they see where it could go, right? Like, oh, well, if I were to do that, I would do it differently. It's like, aha, great, got you to make something. So like that impetus to criticize is also kind of inspiring. If somebody is interested enough to say that they would do it differently, hey, that means they would do it. Right. So like, I like, I don't know, there's like a bit of a seal, just break the seal, publish something, and then publish a couple more things, see what you want to get better at. And you can always like publish more.
Yeah. And the community is so welcoming. Oh, you got a hello from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, hello. Buenos dias.
Yes. And I think it's folks really like there's so much about sharing out there. And we think of like sharing, like there's a lot of folks out there, but there's also your community, right? And just sharing with your friends, with your family, the support that you can get is just will only give you more feedback and like more confidence to be able to share more in the future. So let's talk about what's next for you. Can you share any future projects or ideas that you mentioned a list? Are you able to share anything coming up in 2021?
We talked about this before, and I can't remember what we decided I was going to mention. My upcoming project. No, wait. Oh, yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Because they've got like a bunch, right?
Right, of course.
I've got a bunch. I'm doing some conductive thread embroidery again. I haven't touched conductive thread in like a couple years because it's like a little challenging. But I'm working on like a zodiac embroidery project. Very simple, like your star sign, you embroider it. You can add LEDs or not. And so a very simple embroidery tutorial that has an optional LED element to it. That's my next, that'll be my next tutorial.
So, oh God, I can't wait. I can't wait. It's so exciting. Well, Becky, thank you so much for joining us. Like, it's been really fun. This is my first time hosting the stream alone, and to be able to do it with you and hear about your incredible work was really amazing. And I appreciate you sharing so much. And if you're interested in seeing more of Becky's like awesome stuff, check out her YouTube channel right here. We made a short link, rpf.io/Becky.
Yay. Thank you so much. Awesome. This was so fun. Thanks for having me. Good luck the rest of the show. You're going to kill it.
I will figure it out. Thanks. Bye. All right, folks. That was so cool. It was really awesome to have Becky on here. I'm going to check in with the team, looking in to see. Okay. All right, I'm going to check in and see. So as you know, we're experiencing some trouble with Mr. C's connection today. So we're going to have to postpone our maker project until next week. We had the whole workbench set up on his desk. So we'll definitely make sure to get it set up for next week. Be sure to check out our project site for some awesome projects with GPIO in the meantime. And for folks at home, if you create a fun project, you could enter it into Coolest Projects this year. Coolest Projects is one of our amazing programs where young people around the world can showcase the awesome things that they've made with code. Idea registration launched this month, so check out coolestprojects.org for more information, and we'd love to see what you're making. Again, thank you to Becky for joining us this evening. Don't forget to check out her channel, rpf.io/Becky. Go and subscribe and see more of her awesome video content. She's going to be posting something soon, so we've got to definitely check it out. Now, remember, you can always get in touch with us. Send us an email at dmah@raspberrypi.org. And if you make something you want to share with us, tweet a picture of it to us at raspberry_pi. Now, before you go, like I said earlier, make sure to like and subscribe so you're the first to know when we go live, get updates on all of our other great content on our channel as we release it. Thank you all for being on this journey with me today. We did it. And for being here for Raspberry Pi Foundation's Digital Making at Home live stream. We'll be back next week on Wednesday, same time once again with more digital making. Until then, stay safe and healthy. We'll see you next time. Bye.